Okay, so it's been a couple days since the Super Bowl happened. I want to talk about it because this game was awesome. um, the game started as this defensive slugfest, which is something I wasn't expecting, which feels kind of weird and dumb to say because that's something we've heard all season. This 49ers defense, like the thing about the 49ers is the offense is an unstoppable force and the defense was an immovable object. And when we've seen the Chiefs offense has been this kind of sputtery mess, but the defense has been stout. So it's like, yeah, when you have two elite defenses going at it, it makes sense that it would be a very defensive game. It was 10-3 at halftime. The problem, or I guess the kind of thing for me, though, is like, I know this Chiefs defense is really fucking good and fucking elite. I know their run defense isn't the best. I saw what Buffalo was able to do to them in that game. And I know, like, this, as good as this 49er defense is, the Lions were kind of doing whatever the fuck they wanted in the first half of that game. And it felt like the Packers were doing whatever the fuck they wanted that entire game. Really, the reason the Packer game got away from them was two bad throws by Love, one of them a horrendous decision, and then the 4th and 1 stop, like, deep inside 49er territory, which I looked at it and was like, that, I don't know, I think that was just a bad spot. But I've seen teams take advantage of this 49er defense in the playoffs, and while I hadn't seen it as consistently with the Chiefs, because the Ravens really couldn't do it that well, and the Dolphins definitely weren't able to, the Bills were able to put up points. I thought the offenses could get a little bit more done. It just did not happen in the first half. But then, and there's a little bit of this in the first half too, but it really felt like in the second half, the game just turned into some wacky Looney Tunes shit. And what makes it perfect is Nickelodeon was hosting the Super Bowl. I think I heard this is the first Super Bowl to be on Nickelodeon. I could be wrong about that. Last year's might have been as well. I'm not 100%. But with how wacky and goofy so much shit, like all the crazy shit that happened, of course this would be on Nickelodeon. Of course SpongeBob and Patrick are commentating this game. Like, let's just take a look at some of the weird shit that happened. First of all, the first touchdown was a trick play where the ball was in the air for like 10 days before McCaffrey got it. We had both starting running backs fumbled the ball, and Patrick telling, you gotta firmly grasp it, which is gold. You had Kelsey assaulting Andy Reid at one point. You had Dre Greenlaw tearing his Achilles by running onto the field. Like, it wasn't like he did this like crazy celebration after a play. It wasn't in the field of play. It was dude's just running onto the field excited and his Achilles explodes. And it's, I don't want to make light of that because that's a really fucking awful thing to have happen to a person. Especially when you see it's like, it felt like that injury was one of the huge things that turned the game and really let the Chiefs offense kind of start to come into their own. But that is the kind of just weird fucking shit that happened in this game. You had not one, not three, but two muffed punts, both of which were recovered by the Chiefs, because the Chiefs muffed a punt of their own, where I don't remember who the returner was. I don't know if that was James or if like Rice was there at one point, who like had picked up the ball, didn't quite pick it up, but then got it again, so no problem. And then the muffed punt that bounced off the dude's ankle that was another major momentum swing in favor of the Chiefs. You had a blocked extra point, which was huge because it went from a 4-point game to just a 3-point game, which is what gave us overtime. I cannot say, if the extra point was made, then the Niners win the game, because the Chiefs still had 6 seconds and a timeout in their pocket at the end of regulation when they were, right fucking there. That's a play, maybe two, to get the touchdown. And with the way the game had been going at that point, I genuinely think they would have gotten it. But, who the fuck actually knows? We had the record for the longest field goal in the Super Bowl broken, and then broken again by the other team. And then when Moody kicked his second, was it a second? Maybe his third. But he had kicked another field goal that I think also broke the previous record, but did not overtake Butker's. Again, it's like the two nickels thing. It's like, yeah, if I had a nickel for every time the record was broken in this game, I'd have two. It's not much. It's just fucking weird. It happened twice in one game, man. We had Usher on roller skates. We had Ludacris with the big ass afro. And let me just talk about the halftime show real quick. Let me just do this real quick. I grew up, I was born in 93. So I really grew up in the 2000s. So I love me some Usher. I had a very good time with it. I feel like the singing was a little hit or miss. I won't lie. But I loved the song choices. I loved the choreography, the fucking roller skate shit. I loved the guests. Like, I just start hearing Alicia Keys at one point. I'm like, that's Alicia Keys. She's here? What the fuck? That's so hype. That's so cool. And then I'm like, I mean, every time they talk about this show, you know, they start playing Yeah in the background. It's like, we're going to see Lil Jon. We're going to see Luda. And they showed up and I'm having a great time. It was awesome. It was... yeah, more wacky shit. Fucking Usher on roller skates. We had Shanahan not running the fucking ball in the third quarter again. He was kind of starting to do it more in the fourth quarter, but it was just kind of like, yeah, like here's a run here, run that. Like they weren't really committing to it. I feel like, from what I remember in that drive in overtime, they really did. Speaking of which, the game fucking went into overtime. You know how many Super Bowls have done that? 2, including this. That's insane. Both of which featured Kyle Shanahan calling plays for the losing team. That's really shitty for him, but... game went into overtime. The 49ers took a lead in overtime and still lost, which is just weird to think about. You have the fact that the game was like 2 ticks away from double overtime in a Super Bowl, which had never happened. Oh, yeah, the last one. This is, I don't know how 100% true this stat is, but I did see it and I had to share it. Mecole Hardman is one of 2 players all time to score a touchdown in the Super Bowl and played for the Jets in the same season. And that's just fucking gold. Wacky shit. Watching the game, I did not really have a problem with the officiating. There is probably uncalled shit that I just didn't really notice. I will not deny that, but I felt like there were plays of let me rephrase that. There were times when the 49ers were called for penalties. There were times when the Chiefs were called for penalties. And when you look at the stats of the game, not even just the penalties and everything, it's crazy how even the game is. Like, I get it. It went into overtime. You're like, wow, that's like same amount of turnovers. I think it was the same amount of penalties. Penalty yards was very similar. A lot of shit. You're like, I kind of thought like this was going to be a very close game. Like these are going to be 2 evenly matched teams. I didn't think it was going to be this close. Like that's crazy. When it comes to overtime and Shanahan taking the ball, I feel like in the few days since, I understand his logic, although I disagree with it. Number 1, you want to rest your defense. Your defense was just out on the field. Your defense was giving up play after play after play. And I don't want to say they're the bread and butter of the team, because when you have, like fucking Christian McCaffrey, the offensive player of the year, you have Kittle, who's a monster of a blocker and a monster catcher. Where the fuck was he all night? But like when you have like all these really good skill position players, I can't just say the defense is the bread and butter because the offense is fantastic. But when your defense is getting beat up the way they were on that final drive, I kind of get it of, I want to give them a rest so that when we need them, they are at their best and they can fucking win the game for us. I also do get the logic of, if we score a touchdown and they score a touchdown, or we get a field goal, they get a field goal, third possession wins. Third possession is truly sudden death. I want the ball, it's sudden death. I get it. The problem is this game was never going to sudden death. Shanahan had no way of knowing this, because this is something the Chiefs players said afterwards, is like, look, all season, especially throughout the playoffs, we knew exactly what we were doing. If we won the coin toss, we were deferring. We wanted the ball second, so we knew exactly what we needed to do. Did they score anything? Cool. We just need a field goal. They kicked a field goal? Cool. Field goal continues. We want the touchdown so we can win. If they score a touchdown, cool. We're going for 2. Because we want to go ahead and win the game and leave. We don't want to make it go down to sudden death when we don't have the ball. We are ending it right there and then. So Shanahan was never going to get the ball third, but I understand. He had no way of knowing that, so I get it. But man, you are giving the second team an extra down. When you see what happened, like the Chiefs had a 4th and 1, where was it? Like on their own 30, something like that. I don't know if they're going for that if they get the ball first. They might say like, look, our offense has played great, our defense has played great all night. We think they can stop San Francisco, and we can, can we get this yard? We can. We probably would. If we don't, we essentially lose the game. It might be better to play field position, let our defense get a stop, because we know our defense can. Maybe they punt that. When they get the ball stuck, you're like, we can't punt because then we lose. We have to go for it. We have to be more aggressive. I'm going to be honest. I wouldn't want to give Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid that extra down where they know we have to do this, and also with their play calling, like if they're on 3rd and long, we don't have to get it all in this one play because we will have to go for it on 4th down. Also, they just kind of kept blitzing near the end of the 4th quarter and in overtime, which is like, okay, this is how we're beating the blitz. This is how. Remember what the Eagles didn't do against the Bucs? Beat the blitz. The Chiefs were just doing it like no question at the end of the game. And I feel like, yes, there's a lot of things that went against the Niners in this game. Greenlaw's injury, and then I don't remember his name, but there was a player on the O-line that got injured as well. There was the muffed punt, the blocked extra point, I see that as something that's less that went against the Niners and just more the Chiefs made a play. But overall, it's the kind of game where as I was watching, I was like, I don't feel like the Niners are actively shooting themselves in the foot. The real problem is they just refuse to win the game. And I know how kind of weird and stupid that sounds. Like, why did they lose? Because they didn't win. Yeah, that's some good analysis right there, Cotton. But you have Mahomes and Reed, this elite fucking offense that has not been playing elite tonight, has pretty much not been elite all season, let's be honest. And you are holding them down. You're up 10-0 and then 10-3. You're in the 3rd quarter, 10-3. You just got an interception. And the Niners could not put the game away. They stopped running the ball. Something they were really fucking good at. In overtime, they settled for the field goal instead of saying, no, we are going for the touchdown. We want to win this fucking game. Now, granted, apparently some of the Niners players didn't even know the rules, but either way, it was 4th and 3, 4th and 4, and they kicked the field goal. Maybe it's better if you just go for it. Again, hindsight is 20/20. I won't deny that, but it's we'll take the points instead of going for the win. Which, granted, was completely correct. Granted is what fucked over Dan Campbell. He wanted to be aggressive instead of taking the points, and that's why they lost. I don't know. It just, watching the game, for so much of them, I feel like the Chiefs are down more than one touchdown because they cannot move the fucking ball. But the Niners are just refusing to step on their throats. You know why Tom Brady and the Buccaneers won that Super Bowl? Because that Bucs defense was dominant and never gave them an inch. And the Bucs offense could complement that. I don't think the Bucs were ever up 10 points on the Chiefs. They were up more than 10 points, but never 10 exactly. Because in every other Super Bowl, the Chiefs have been down 10 points exactly and have come back to win. The Bucs delivered a knockout blow and they kept delivering them. And that's why that team could win. The 49ers have never been able to do that against the Chiefs, and unfortunately for the Eagles, they couldn't do that either in their Super Bowl. To me, that's really what the story of the game is. You have two teams that were evenly matched, and while one team had the opportunity to put away their opponent, they just didn't. It did not feel like they were playing with their food or that they were super cocky. A lot of that is because the Chiefs' defense is just that really, really fucking good. And like I was saying, this was a defensive slugfest at the start of the game. Wacky shit ended up happening. But, I mean, like, I know Patrick Mahomes was the MVP of the Super Bowl. And, like, when you kind of watch, like, that last drive in the fourth quarter and overtime, you really feel it. Spags was the fucking MVP of the Super Bowl, man. Like, his defense was so good. Chris Jones was unblocked on a play. Like, he had, was it Snead or McDuffie? I think it was Snead that he had on that, like, 3rd and 4 at the end of the game. And where if the Niners pick up this first down, it's essentially game over. Blitz, wide open rusher, stops the pass. They were fucking elite, man. So, Reed has 3 Super Bowls, which puts him, what is that? That ties him with, I think, Walsh. Did Walsh have 4? Because the Niners have 5. Montana has 4, but I think Walsh has 3. Gibbs has 3, and I know Gibbs, I think, was with, like, a different QB every time. Like, Gibbs' resume is, like, fucking wild, dude. Landry is 2. Lombardi is 2 Super Bowls, but several fucking championships. Belichick is 6 rings. I think Noel is 4 rings. I mean, Belichick is 6 rings as a head coach, but of course he also has those 2 with the Giants, so he's at 8. 8 total. I feel like there's probably someone I'm missing. But the point is, like, Reed is now kind of an all-timer for a head coach. 3 championships, 5 appearances. Yeah, it's 4 with the Chiefs and 1 with the Eagles. I believe he has, like, other records as well. When you look at Mahomes, 3 Super Bowls, 4 appearances, 3 wins, 3 Super Bowl MVPs, 2 regular season MVPs. I feel like at this point, he is generally considered either number 2 or number 3 on most people's all-time QB list. He's either above or below Montana. Brady is number 1 because Brady played forever, has every fucking record, and has 7 fucking rings. That's insane. And it is still insane to think about. Mahomes might be able to catch him, which is also fucking crazy to think about. I'm not saying he for sure will, because winning a Super Bowl is hard. He has to win 1 more to tie Montana and Bradshaw. 2 more to be all alone in second place. 4 to tie Brady. And even then, people probably say, I mean, Brady beat him in a Super Bowl and in an AFC championship. So he kind of has the tiebreaker. So he needs 5 more to be all alone. That is fucking hard to do. They just went back-to-back, though. They just won their 3rd in 6 years. And it's crazy when you look at, like, how stacked the AFC is, and that it just doesn't seem to matter. I mean, Brady... The thing that's super interesting to me about... Oh, sorry. Eye is super itchy right now. The thing that's super interesting to me about the Patriots dynasty is that it's 2 dynasties. It's like, they won 6 over a period of about 20 years with 3 other appearances in there, which is wild. The thing is, like, yeah, Mahomes has won 3 Super Bowls. He's won as many as Brady lost. Fuck. Is that they've essentially matched the first Patriots dynasty. Now they have a lot of time to match the second dynasty. It could happen. There's a lot of cat talent in the AFC, man. One thing I will say that just bothers me is whenever I hear people talk about Burrow's, like, I talk about the Rich Eisen show. Like, I have a lot of fun watching. I really like watching Rich. I love hearing Brockman and his fucking takes. TJ's I fucking love Del Tufo, whenever Del Tufo gets to do shit. But I was watching them yesterday, and Eisen said a couple times, like, Burrow is the only active player, like, the only human being to beat Mahomes. There's like 50 other dudes on the roster, though, right? It's not just Burrow. Taylor's still been the coach. Like, that's the only coach to do it, like, the active coach to do it. And also, that's only in the playoffs. I mean, teams have gotten them in the regular season, too. I get it, playoffs are a very different breed. It's just, I think just what I hate, and I know I just spent a lot of time talking about quarterbacks, is how the quarterback gets all of the blame and all of the praise. Because a lot of times it's not deserved. Like, again, Mahomes won the Super Bowl MVP, and I think it's deserved. You can make an argument for a guy on the defense getting it, because that defense balled out all fucking night. Hell, even in the first Super Bowl, you can make an argument that it should have went to Williams. Williams had that touchdown on the ground that really ended the game. He had another touchdown through the air. Mahomes had a lot of good plays. He also had 2 picks. He also had a fumble, which they didn't lose because it went out of bounds, but he did put the ball on the ground that game. Did he fumble in this game? I feel like he did. Well, I don't know if the pitch counts, because I guess that's technically a fumble, but yeah. Which I guess was another wacky thing that happened. You had a bobble pitch that went like 10 yards back or some shit. It was insane. I will say this is kind of funny to me, though. You have the Chiefs winning a Super Bowl in the Raiders stadium, and the team to give them the trophy is John Elway. So that is a massive fuck you to the Raiders, a massive fuck you to the Broncos, and the Chargers just going, thank God we somehow didn't get embarrassed in this situation. But it was a phenomenal game. I had a blast watching it. I loved watching the defensive game because I did not find that boring. It's like, this is awesome because someone is going to break through. And like, that's what I love about defensive games. There's like a good offense, or at least some good offensive players against a great defense. It's just a matter of time until they break through. Which is what's crazy about that Broncos-Seahawks Super Bowl, is that the Broncos never really did. They eventually scored, but it's not like, okay, we scored, now we can start moving the ball. It was, yeah, it's just game over at this point. There's usually that point where it's either the defense is getting tired, or maybe they're playing prevent, or they're blitzing and the blitz is getting figured out. But there's that point where the offense says, oh, I got this. Oh, excuse me. And it's fun to kind of see when that's going to happen. And then does the defense adjust? Is the offense able to kind of keep picking them apart? There is a point where the dam usually breaks. I thought it was fun. The wacky SpongeBob Looney Tunes shit was fun. Double overtime almost happened, but the fact that we got, like, I was so fucking giddy. I was like, are we going to get overtime? Are we actually going to get overtime? Yay! It was, in fact, a superb owl. The next one's in New Orleans. I have no faith that the Saints could get there right now because we still have Dennis fucking Allen. I would love to be proven wrong. I would so badly love to be proven wrong. I doubt it, but here's hoping. I guess my way too early prediction before free agency, before the draft, before Brady says, fuck it, I need to go and get 8 right now, I am going to play for the Niners. Excuse me, is, I don't know, Chiefs, Lions? We'll go with that. We'll say my 2 early prediction is Chiefs, Lions. But, that's it for this season. Looking forward to next year.